Welcome back to Sports Nerds in the Morning. I am Caleb Posner.
Josh Golden.
Dominic Stern.
And today we are going to be talking about the NCAA, college basketball. It's been a pretty interesting couple of weeks in college basketball. We're nearing the point where the March Madness bracket is starting to shape up. Josh, what are some teams that you're really looking at with a very kind of interesting perspective going forward in the next couple of weeks?
Well, earlier, a few weeks ago when we were talking March Madness, I was saying that I was very high on Marquette, that I think that Marcus Howard could be a Shabazz Napier, Kemba Walker type player who just puts his team on his back and carries them through this entire tournament and maybe makes a run to the Final Four. From what I've been seeing out of this team the last couple of weeks, that's probably not going to happen. They've lost 3 or 4 straight now, including coming off a loss at Seton Hall the other night. I don't think this is going to be the team that makes a run now. And if they keep playing this poorly and even get bounced early in the Big East tournament, they could lose early in the NCAA tournament. So watch out for that.
Yeah, a team I've been really interested by the past couple of weeks is LSU. They kind of flew under the radar this whole season. They only have 5 losses on the year. They've beaten both Kentucky and Tennessee this year. And they've been winning some really close games as of late. But if they win their last regular season game, they're going to be the SEC champions in the regular season. They're going to have the number 1 seed, which means Tennessee and Kentucky will have to face off in the semis. They'll have a very good path and a very good chance to set them up to possibly be a number 2 seed in the NCAA tournament.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that as we go forward, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with Kentucky and Tennessee, especially because obviously in Kentucky, it looked as if Kentucky had the upper hand. They clapped Tennessee. And then you go back to Tennessee, and it was a reversal of roles. You have a game where Tennessee was in command. And Tennessee is a good basketball team. A lot of people, I think, underrate Tennessee. They don't think they're as elite as they've been made out to be. But the alien, Grant Williams looks like an alien.
And Jordan Bone, spectacular.
The Bone. The Admiral, the alien, and the Bone. A great core that leads the Tennessee team.
That sounds like a movie of 3 guys ready to fight crime.
the Admiral, the alien, and the Bone. That's a dynamic trio. But I think Tennessee's a really good basketball team. I'm really excited to see what happens and how they shape up.
Yeah, I think Kentucky, Tennessee, and LSU are all 3 going to be teams to watch in the next week and a half or so. I think this SEC tournament's really going to be a huge, huge thing to watch. I think Tennessee or Kentucky win, they end up 1 seeds. LSU wins, they end up a 2 seed. These are 3 dangerous teams we're watching right now, and they're flying under the radar, especially LSU. So just keep an eye out on all 3 of those teams. Let's see what they can do when they get, who's going to get hot when we approach the NCAA tournament. Whoever wins the SEC could make a big dent come the tournament.
LSU is a really good basketball team.
I
think that they've got guys, and I think that they're a team because of the other teams, like we said, Kentucky and Tennessee. They're flying very much under the radar, but I could see them making a big run this year in the tournament, and I'm excited to watch LSU actually going forward.
Yeah, Tremont Waters, he makes it splash from the deep.
A lot of good names in this NCAA class.
Absolutely.
Cavell, Big B Williams, he's obviously one of their best big men down low. This is a team that's really good on the boards. And if they get a good seeding, if they get in a weaker side of a bracket, they could definitely be a Final Four team. Make Shaq proud,
Absolutely. Now, Dom, I just got to bring this up because I know I was a big fan of Marquette, like I said, and they've kind of simmered down the last couple of weeks, and you've experienced the same thing with Nevada. How are you feeling about that?
I still feel like they're a very good team for the same exact reasons. They're very experienced. They're all very tall and athletic players. But from back when I said they were a Final Four team, I think that's changed a little bit. I still think they're a team that can definitely pull off an upset. They're listed as a 6th seed in Joe Lunardi's bracket. All of the stuff we're going based off of Joe Lunardi's bracket.
Joey Brackets.
In case you wanna.
Absolute legend.
In case you wanna follow along with us, and I mean they're very capable of beating a 3 seed because they're tall. They're athletic, they play good defense, and they shoot the ball well. But them being a Final Four team, I've definitely, taken the brakes off of Nevada. For
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely. So you had Nevada in your Final Four a couple of weeks ago. Now you're saying they're out of it. Who's the team that stepped up who you think, if they get the right draw, could be in the Final Four now?
Tennessee. Because, my original Final Four on our first college basketball podcast was Kentucky, Nevada, UVA, and Gonzaga. And UVA and Gonzaga, I obviously still believe in. Kentucky, they've fallen off a bit. They've lost some really close games. They also killed Tennessee. But Tennessee's a really good team, as we've already spoken on. I don't feel like we need to go any more in-depth into them other than the Admiral, the Bone, and the Alien. They're a great team, very well coached, very well experienced, and they're going to be hungry after that loss to Loyola Chicago on that buzzer beater.
Absolutely. But I think there's one team that we haven't addressed on our multiple college basketball podcasts, and that's Texas Tech. This is a good basketball team. Even though the Big 12 is a little weak this year, Jarrett Culver is special. He's a real talent they've got. He's been leading the team in points, assists, and rebounds so far this season. They're rolling right now. They got, 8 straight wins or something like that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They've got a game against Iowa State this weekend. Then they got the Big 12 tournament, which I expect them to dominate. They could end up being a 2 seed if they win the Big 12. Maybe they could even sneak in as a 1 seed. I don't think that'll happen.
No,
but
they're not going to be
if a couple teams lose, it could happen. I don't think it'll happen. But Texas Tech is definitely a team to watch for me.
I loved Texas Tech last year. We were led by Keenan Evans. I thought they were a great team. And I think this year's team is better.
Keenan Evans is special. Jared Culver can be even better.
That's what I'm saying is I love that team led by Keenan Evans. I think this year, led by Culver, they're better. Mm-hmm. I think that this Texas Tech team is better, and they are actually going to be dangerous this year going into the tournament. And I really see them making a deep run.
Yeah. Culver, he's homegrown talent. He was born in Lubbock. So he's always...
You don't get a lot of those guys.
That is very true. He's been the leader of this team, but I also love Matt Mooney, their senior guard, and he's probably the second best defensive guard in the country behind Trey Jones. He also plays a little offense too. He's just a baller, and he's part of the reason why Texas Tech is one of the best defenses in the nation. You're right. I love this team. They're another team similar to LSU. If they get a good side of the bracket, they can definitely make a run in the Final Four. And they're dangerous.
Dom, speaking of Trey Jones, I think a lot of people talk, why is Duke going to win the national championship? Why is Duke not going to win the national championship this year?
Their offense is a two-man team between really R.J. Barrett and Zion Williamson.
Couldn't agree with you more.
You can throw in Cam Reddish in that argument.
On a couple games.
But he doesn't create his offense. He's a guy that...
He's a catch-and-shoot guy.
He relies on R.J. Barrett and Zion Williamson to get to the paint and pass out, and then he can do whatever from there. But that's not him creating his own offense. Their entire offense is centered around Zion Williamson and R.J. Barrett.
And you've seen it the last couple of games with Zion out. It's just been R.J. And I think R.J.'s so special, don't get me wrong. You could even make the argument that he's better than Zion, in my opinion. And you're looking at these two guys, but you see Zion out and just R.J., and it's not the same team. They've been playing pretty poorly without Zion. And I think even when Zion comes back, they're not going to look like the same team.
Yeah, and the thing you don't want is your team not being confident heading into March. Exactly. And that's, when I look at Duke, that's what I see. And everyone else on the podcast last time said Duke was a Final Four team. I was the only one to not say that, and I 100% stick by it. I don't think this team is going to be a 1 seed. I think they're going to lose to UNC this weekend. I think they will lose their second or third game in the ACC tournament.
I think they're going to lose their first game in the ACC tournament. Call me biased, but they're going to get that double bye as the 3 seed. They're going to play the 6 seed that's going to be Syracuse, and Syracuse is going to beat them.
I am going to call you biased. I'm also going to say that's not going to happen, and I will be willing to put money on this podcast right now that doesn't happen.
I don't gamble. I'm kidding. If anyone knows me, they know that's a joke. But I think the Syracuse team, when they get hot, and they're going to... I think they've been playing pretty well the last couple of games, except for a couple mess-ups along the way. They've looked really good, except for just a couple screw-ups at the end of the game. And when you get to March, hopefully that stuff is going to change around a little bit. If they look really good on Saturday against Clemson, which I think could happen because I think Clemson's very overrated, you can get to this game. They could be feeling good after a big win in the first game, which would probably be against Boston College maybe. And you get to that Duke game feeling really confident against a not-so-confident Duke team. Don't be surprised if that one turns out to be an upset.
So how far do you think Syracuse goes?
They would lose the next game to North Carolina.
You think so?
Yeah.
And then
I just think Duke's overrated. I've been saying it all year. I think Zion and RJ are both very great basketball players, but Zion has obviously been out the last couple of weeks. He's not going to jump right in and be spectacular. There's no way he can do that. He's 19 years old.
I agree with you that Duke's overrated. I also agree that one of the biggest things about March Madness tournament basketball is it's a different season. The
Correct.
season ends, and then the new season begins.
Correct.
It's not like any playoff there is. It's not like the NBA playoffs where you take moments.
Because once you lose, you're done.
Correct. It's win or go home, and it really brings out the individual players and the talent of guys. Look at last year with Alabama getting out of the first round. Look what Colin Sexton did, like on his own. That guy carried a mediocre basketball team past the first round. They didn't. Correct me if I'm wrong, but they didn't make it past the round of 32.
No, they hung with Villanova for
But
a half.
They did hang with Villanova
and
for
then
half.
Villanova.
And that's a guy who Alabama was not a very good basketball team.
They're still not.
They're still not. But
Good
Colin
coaching.
Sexton was a great basketball player who led that team.
Yes.
So, I agree with you. Duke is not the best college basketball team ever. They're not even a team. Duke is
They're
not a team.
It's a two-man team.
But I still believe they're going to be a Final Four team because I do not think a team with Zion Williamson, R.J. Barrett, Cam Reddish, and Trey Jones loses before the Final Four. I
Okay.
just can't see that happening.
All right. So, Caleb, you weren't on our last college basketball podcast. You just said Duke is one of your Final Four teams. Who are your other 3 Final Four teams for our viewers to know?
If the bracket is shaped up as is now using Lenardi's bracket, I would say that I've got Virginia.
Okay. I think both of us have Virginia, right, Josh?
Yeah, I think Virginia is definitely the team to beat in that region. In this region that Jordan already has it, he'd have Virginia playing. He does Virginia as the 1, Michigan State is the 2, LSU is the 3, and Kansas is the 4. We'll get to Kansas in a minute. They're very overrated, but continue.
I do not like Kansas. If any other teams coming out of there, I'd say it's LSU,
Absolutely.
and I'm very confident in that.
Mm-hmm.
I would say in the next division, which is Lenardi's Midwest,
That's Kentucky, North Carolina, Texas Tech, and Wisconsin as the top 4.
I need to see how North Carolina plays against Duke this week and how they do in their tournament.
Very well.
If it's well, I'm going to say North Carolina. Otherwise, I'm going to say Kentucky.
So you've got 3 ACC teams in your Final 4.
There's nothing wrong. I mean,
There's nothing wrong with that. I think the ACC is by far the best conference in the country, especially these top 3. But
and because Syracuse is in the ACC.
the ACC is the best conference in the country.
Yes,
There's
I
no
know,
debating
but
that.
I'm just saying.
But 3 teams from one conference in the Final 4 is pretty bold.
I agree. I actually also in the Midwest, I could also see Texas Tech actually pulling it out and going to the Final Four. I think right now the Midwest is the hardest
Yeah.
to predict because Wisconsin's not bad, and I could see them if they get hot. I could
They
see
took
them.
a tough loss to Indiana.
They
a week
did.
or so
I
ago.
agree.
That was an ugly,
but also
ugly game.
Indiana's a team that they're not going to make the tournament, but Indiana
They still
can't.
think they can.
We don't need to get into that, but Romeo Langford is legit.
He's special. He's
so
a special
he can
talent.
he can beat teams on his own.
If you can lead Indiana to like the semifinals of the Big Ten tournament, why not put them in the play-in 12 game or
Maybe.
the play-in game? Why
We'll
not?
see what happens.
Because think about it, it's Indiana. They still have, like, if you're comparing them to like Clemson or some team that's like right on the bubble right now,
Mhm.
Temple, Arizona State. None of those teams have like that elite
Yeah.
player. Indiana has Romeo Langford. Langford can go and win
It's
that
gonna be a
game.
lottery pick.
Absolutely.
So why not put Indiana in there? I don't think they're done. Do I think they'll make it? No.
If they
but
go make the semifinals of the Big Ten tournament, they
you
should.
got
I think
absolutely.
Coming out of my West bracket, Michigan.
That's Gonzaga, Michigan, Houston, and Florida State. You think Michigan will beat
I think
Gonzaga?
Michigan is going to beat Gonzaga. I know that you think Gonzaga is the best team in the country. I know that you probably have them winning the finals.
I would agree with Josh. I'm not gonna have them winning the bracket because I know in order to beat Josh in our bracket, I have to have a different team. So I will not be picking Gonzaga.
I've taken a little bit of a step back on Gonzaga. I still think they're the best team in the country, and I still think they're going to win the national championship. But I think if Virginia can win the ACC and win the ACC tournament, I think that they could be a team to watch out for. I think they played really, really well the other night against Syracuse. That was the first time I really sat down and watched 40 minutes of Virginia. Obviously, they shot crazy in that game. They
Yeah.
made, 72% from three or something like
It was
that?
77.
It was incredible.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like that. But they played some incredible defense as well, and they made some free throws, and that's how you win NCAA tournament
Yeah,
games.
and so UVA, they always play great defense. Anthony Bennett's a great coach,
Mhm.
and gosh, my voice is kind of jacked up today. But this year they shoot the ball,
They
and
shoot the
that's
ball
what's
well.
separating them this year because their only 2 losses are to Duke, and those it's not a bad loss.
Yeah.
So this UVA team is very good. Everyone's gonna be like, oh well, they lost first round last year. Okay,
They're out
There's-
trying to get revenge.
listen,
Every single guy on this team who has a big impact, I think every single guy on the team who averages more than 8 minutes is at least a sophomore.
yeah, everyone on that team that played on that team last
They
year,
have
except
one
for
freshman who
except for
averages like 6
Kihei
minutes a game.
Clark.
Correct.
He's a great defender. He's a baller.
But he plays like 6 or 7 minutes a game.
And so UVA, they're obviously a threat.
They're out looking for some revenge. I think they'll definitely make a run. We'll see how far it goes. I still think as of right now, Gonzaga's my national champion.
Okay.
All right, so one more thing before we move on from college basketball. Who's your guys' Loyola Chicago this year? 10 seed or up? I'll make it 9 seed or up that can actually make it to the Final Four.
I mean,
You're gonna
No,
say Syracuse,
no,
aren't you?
no.
I was about to.
No one a 9-seeder up is making the Final Four this year. I just don't see
Okay,
that
Josh.
happening.
Thank you for your wisdom. Josh is
pick
a
a
future
team.
teller.
Pick a team. If you
I
say
don't
my
think-
team, I'm gonna punch you.
I think I'm going to say your team. I don't think this team's making the Final Four. I think this team, if they get the right matchup in the first round, could win their first game, maybe win their second game. They've got the most underrated player in the country, South Dakota State, and Mike Down.
Okay, I mean, yeah, I agree. South Dakota State's a very good team, and they could.
If they
upset.
get the right matchups, they
Yeah.
can make the Sweet 16.
They're not my team. My team is currently Lipscomb.
Okay.
Lipscomb, they're a great team.
In Lenardi's bracket right now, I can see that happening,
Yeah,
actually.
so they're playing.
He's got them playing Kansas
They
in the
play
first
Kansas
round.
in the first round. If they win that game, they're either playing right now Maryland or some 12 seed. And then if they win that, they can beat UVA. And UVA, if you shoot the ball well, you can beat UVA.
Mhm.
Problem is, a lot of people don't shoot the ball very well against UVA, but
Hey,
they're a good
hey,
team.
UMBC did it last year.
Yeah, that's how
Yeah.
UMBC beat them. I mean, they're a 21-point underdog that won by 20. This is hilarious.
You never know.
It was like the Bills beating the Vikes.
Let's go. You never know when it comes to March.
Yeah, but
You never know.
Lipscomb, they're my team. Also, Loyola Chicago, they could make it again this year. They're not going to make it to the Final Four this year, but they could get a first round upset. Right now, they're predicted to play Michigan State. I feel like they could win that because Michigan State, they're hurt. They're hurt right now, and
I agree.
Chicago
Watch Old
can get-
Dominion as well.
Yeah.
They could do some damage.
Watch Utah State.
Mhm.
Utah State is a hot
Absolutely.
team. They just moved up to a 9 seed in Laurie's bracket. So if you have them in that 10-9 range, especially where they are now, they could beat VCU. If Duke has an off day,
Duke's a
which
struggling team.
Duke's a struggling team, they could beat Duke and then either play Kansas State or Marquette.
Kansas State's good.
Kansas
I agree,
State's
Kansas State's good, but Marquette I think is a little overrated. I could see Utah State making a pretty deep run in this,
Yeah,
this bracket.
I agree.
That
with you.
Lenardi South region right now, though, of Duke, Tennessee, Purdue, and Marquette, that's pretty weak to me. I think Tennessee would come out of there, but if they don't, watch out for Kansas State.
Yeah, don't disrespect the Bone, the Admiral, and the Alien. Do not disrespect.
They're
Tennessee.
a good team. They're a good
Yeah.
team, but I don't think they'll beat Kentucky in the SEC tournament, and that would probably drop them to a 3 seed.
I agree.